everyone, this is Dirk at DPG Off-Road, and today we're going to talk about how to install an Old Man Emu heavy-duty steering stabilizer on your Jeep Wrangler JK. This is a product they came out with in more recent years. They came out with this heavy-duty version. They had the standard SD40 for years. They came out with the SD48 after the JK came out, and we started seeing larger tires on those. This unit has heavier valving than their standard stabilizer does, which if you're running 35-inch tires or even bigger on your JK, you need more aggressive valving in your stabilizer. This one's had the factory stabilizer on it with 35s for a little while, and the factory stabilizer really isn't doing very well. So we're going to put a heavier duty stabilizer on this. This can mount a couple of different ways. It comes with the standard kit and a sleeve, and this sleeve goes in this end if we want to mount it in the stock location, but the steering dampener on a JK kind of hangs below the tie rod, so we want to move it up. And so instead of that, we've got the FK50 kit here for an extra around $20. That's the way to go, because now we're going to take that steering stabilizer that hangs below the tie rod and we're going to move it up out of the way. So when we're talking about off-road use, having that steering stabilizer hanging down below the tie rod is just not a good idea if you're going to be out on the trail and run the risk of hitting that unit and damaging it. So the little FK50 for the extra money, great option. This steering stabilizer, though, the way it comes with the standard mounting hardware, also mounts on your TJ Wrangler, LJ Wrangler, or your XJ Cherokee. This will go right on there. For those that aren't sure, I've had people open the package and the packing slip says Old Man Emu stabilizer for a JK, and they're upset thinking they got the wrong part. Same steering stabilizer works on all of those Jeeps. It's just a matter of which mounting kit that you use and how you go about it. So we're going to go ahead and install this. Very simple install, low buck install. This is one of those under $100 upgrades you can do if you're running bigger tires on your JK. Great upgrade to do. So let's get in here. We've got our JK pulled up on ramps to give us a little better access to the underneath, again here in the home shop at my place, and we're going to install this stabilizer on this Jeep. Let's go to work. Okay, so the first step to installing our Old Man Emu steering stabilizer is to remove the factory one. We've got two bolts here, one on each end. We need an 18mm socket to take those two nuts off of there, or nut and a bolt. So we're going to remove the steering stabilizer. So this end just has a stud and it's got a nut on the end, so we're going to pull that off. Go to our other end here, there's a bolt that has a flag nut or tab nut on the back. We're going to loosen that up and remove that. Oh, there we go. This factory bolt holding a steering stabilizer in is way longer than it needs to be, but we're able to swing the tie rod up, get the bolt out, and now our factory steering stabilizer will just come off of the factory mounts, and that is out of there. And again, the factory stabilizer is what it is. It's not the most robust unit, and when we're running a larger tire like that out at freeway speeds, having a steering stabilizer with more aggressive valving in it really helps keep those big tires in check out at freeway speeds. All right, let's move on to installing the new unit. Okay, so here's the new heavy-duty steering stabilizer, and like we said, you can mount it in the factory mounts. You'll need this little sleeve to go in this bushing on this end, and then just simply put it right back up in the factory mount. And you know, if you don't go on any trails at all and you're not worried about this hanging down, you could certainly do that and not buy the extra bracket. But you can kind of see here again where it hangs below the tie rod, and we're not going to do that. But that's a real simple install, just straight back into the factory mounts with that one little sleeve if you want to do that. But we're going to go ahead and mount this with the FK50 bracket. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to put that in there at this point. Okay, so we're going to mount our FK50 bracket, and we need to pull the track bar bolt loose. So we're going to go ahead and take that loose first. Okay, so when we loosened our track bar bolt, and when we did, of course, the job of the track bar is to hold the axle centered, so our hole is slightly off. But we're going to mount our new bracket up here in place like this, and we'll put our track bar bolt back through and mount that back up. The trick to this is to have a partner with you. Have them get in the Jeep and unlock the steering wheel and just turn the steering wheel one way or the other until that hole lines up, and then you can drop the bolt in. I see guys use ratchet straps and all sorts of stuff to try to do this, but for the front track bar anyway, just have someone turn the steering wheel as you tell them where, sink the bolt in, and you're good. Okay, so we're gonna, nope, that's the wrong way. So turn the steering wheel the other way. See, it's moving right there. Whoa. Maybe back up just a hair. Just, that's good. Right there. Okay, hold it right there. And then with that lined up, we're gonna put our bracket back in place here. Putting our bolt back in, we've got 3 different size holes here on this bracket. The largest one is for the track bar bolt, and we're gonna go ahead and stab that in there right now. And then you've got a larger hole up on the top, the second larger one that's going to be the mount for our steering stabilizer, and then another hole here. So we'll go ahead and put our flag nut on the back of this bolt and mount our stud and our stabilizing bolt here, and then we'll go down to the other mount down here. Okay, so we've got our little bolt supplied with our bracket. We've got our track bar bolt in, and then we're gonna set this one in there. And there's a nut that goes on the back that is a 14 millimeter. So we're gonna put the nut on the back, and that's gonna secure our bracket in place. Okay, so we're securing our FK50 bracket with the original track bar bolt and the supplied bolt that goes in the other hole here, and that mounts it very solidly on the axle. You've got a 17 millimeter wrench or socket here and a 14 on the back to hold the nut. We'll go ahead and tighten that into place. And then we'll go ahead and secure our track bar bolt back down, and that gives us our mount for the steering stabilizer stud that we'll put in the top. Okay, so we've got our bracket attached to the axle with the factory track bar bolt and the supplied bolt and nut there. Now we're going to put our stud on. We've already pressed on the spacer sleeve, so that just goes right in there. You can just put it together and it'll press together when you tighten it. We've got a supplied lock washer and nut that goes on the back, and that's going to complete our axle mount for the steering stabilizer. We'll tighten that down and move on to the tie rod side. All right, so our bracket is complete here. We've reinstalled our track bar bolt, the additional supplied bolt to stabilize that. Now our mounting stud bolt is there. So this is ready to mount. Now we're gonna go down to our factory tie rod mount. We're gonna loosen this bolt right here. That's a 15 millimeter bolt, so we're gonna loosen that, and we're gonna rotate this collar to work with the new steering stabilizer position. All right, so we've loosened this bolt. We're going to rotate this factory bracket up so our stud is coming up. So now, not only is our stabilizer not hanging down, the bracket isn't either. We've cleaned all that up, and we're going to want to measure with our wheels pointed straight ahead. Then we're going to measure, it's 420 millimeters. For those of us that live in America, that's 16.53 inches. So you're going to measure center to center on your mount, from the center of the upper mount to the center of this mount, 16.53, just a smidge over 16.5 inches. And then you're going to tighten your factory mount back down right there, and that's going to be the correct position to mount our new steering stabilizer. And at that point, all the prep work is finished. We'll go ahead and snug that down. And now we can go ahead and mount our new stabilizer. And then now this is just real simple. You'll clock the mounts. These are both the same way. Obviously one's going to be the opposite of the other. All right, so with all our bracket in place and our mount rotated here, I'm going to go ahead and mount our new stabilizer with the new mounts in place. Upper mount goes on there. And that one goes back on that factory mount. This one slides over the new mount. It's kind of tight, but we've got those in place. On the upper mount, we're going to put our large washer and nut that's supplied with the steering stabilizer to secure that. Then we've got our original nut going back on here on the factory end in place, and we'll snug those two down. And that is our new steering stabilizer mounted in place. You can see now all of that is cleaned up. If you were on the trail and ran over a rock or something, you're not going to damage that stabilizer. It's tucked up there much nicer now than it was. The only other thing that I would recommend is the steering stabilizer boot has holes in it, and it may or may not be clocked properly. It's zip tied to the body of the shock. I would recommend, if you have holes down at the bottom, then you could conceivably get moisture in there and dirt. So you could either punch a hole in it or just cut the zip tie and rotate the boot where you've got the hole down on the very bottom so that that boot can drain and not accumulate dirt and rust inside there that might want to rust out your steering stabilizer. Okay, so our install's complete. We've installed our FK50 bracket, rotated our factory mount, installed the Old Man Emu stabilizer. Everything's in place. Much higher clearance now, much cleaner, nicer, nothing hanging down there to get snagged up on the trail. I did go ahead and clip our zip tie because where the holes are positioned, again, if you can see it in the video, there's a hole now dead bottom on there. So if anything were to get in there along the course of movement, driving, or moisture, it's got a way to drain out of there without accumulating inside there. But that's our finished product. That's a much heavier valve steering stabilizer. So out at freeway speeds, again, with 35 or even 37-inch tires, there's more rolling inertia, more weight. That heavier valving in that stabilizer really helps to slow that down and make that much more nice on the highway, much easier to drive and not feel like it wants to wander as much. Okay, so that's our install on an Old Man Emu heavy-duty steering stabilizer for the Jeep JK Wrangler with the FK50 relocation bracket. If you really want to get official, you can go ahead and install your Old Man Emu steering stabilizer decal. We didn't put it on there, but you certainly can. This same steering stabilizer again works on your XJ or your TJ or LJ Cherokees and Wranglers. Just with the hardware that comes with it, it'll go right on your factory mounts on those Jeeps. So hopefully that helps for the questions you guys have had about that unit. From Dirk at DPG Off-Road, thanks for watching. God bless America, and we'll see you next time.